Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my live stream, Fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace. It's a warm welcome. I know that right now you may have mixed feelings about what I call the child protection system. It's a government entity that's found in the United States and worldwide. In the United States, it was started about 1974. In the 60s, there was the battered kid syndrome that came into play, and Congress wanted to protect our children. Well, people that wanted to protect their children told their congressperson, their representative, or senator that they need to do something about our children being battered all the time. Now, there's been abuse of our children since the dawn of man. I mean, it's been going on forever. The United States, there are cases that going back to the early 1600s. Now, we were trying to, I think the earliest records I've seen of people in the United States, there was a lost village called Croquetan, I think it is, where a group of European settlers, and I don't even know if they're just from England or where, but that's where we started. We started in the late 1500s, early 1600s. But there's cases I found in the early 1600s about a child being abused. And over the years, we've tried to address child abuse. There's another case about a lady in the 1840s, I'm sure I stand corrected. But her children were extremely abused by who? Our first immigrants here, the Native American Indians. The people for over 10,000 years have been living as tribes in North America, in South America, Central America. People in North and Central and South were settled by the people that came over from Asia. Now, a lot of the early people were different kinds of individuals. They weren't what we call our present day Indians. Now, I'm here to try to help you hang on to your children, keep your families together, and fight CPS. Now, why do we have to fight a government agency? Well, the agency has gone bad. Over half of the CPS entities in every county in every state in the U.S. are corrupt. Now, I can say half because there's only 3,144 counties in the United States. And I've talked to I've talked to actually 2,600 people. 100 of them are outside the United States. And they have told me that their child protection system was awful, bad. Well, if I drop the 100 people in the United States, that's 2,500. And let's say I dropped the 500 people, rounded off to 2,000. Well, there's 3,144. Half of that is over 1,500. So 144 is half, it's 50, 22. So it's 15, say 1,600. What number is bigger, 2,500 or 1,600? Well, gone to consensus with talking to that many people over the last 2.5 years I've been doing this. Since statistics support me that you have a 50-50 chance you're going to run into what I call a rogue CPS. Their only interest is strictly money, and they don't want to help your family or do family reunification. You see, Congress told Social Service in 1974 to create a body of social workers that would protect their children from neglect and abuse. Furthermore, they're supposed to do what's called family reunification because studies have shown that the best parents are the biological parents. So I really want to emphasize that you parents are the best. Now I'm here trying to understand and to talk to you from time to time. And I've been doing this now 3 times a day. I do it at 17. I do it at 7 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning. I guess it's early. It's Saturday morning, by the way, and it's a little after 8 o'clock. But it's 7:30. At 8 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock in the evening are my live stream show times. That's 3 times a day, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. 2.5 years. Now, I started off with 2 shows a day. And that's in October of 2023. And I really at first didn't know what kind of reaction I get from general people surfing the internet and looking for help. The people come to this room because they see the word fight CPS, not because of my name, or I guess it's just that they hear the word fight CPS and they too are fighting CPS. And one of the hardest things when you fight CPS is to do it alone. Now, coming here, I have good family people that regularly, that's about 50 to 75 of you, that come in here 3 times a day and help support and help make things happen. Help make things happen. And I have really learned a lot. And talking to those people have taught me a lot. That not only did I have firsthand experience fighting with CPS and a bad experience with CPS, I found out that the number one importance, the number one rule is you need to have an attorney. That is the key to success. I know you don't like to hear that because that represents dollar signs. I know about the expenses. CPS comes at the most terrible time in your life. Now, I'm supposed to be a senior enjoying my golden years. Unfortunately, my first tragedy, well, I can't say my first tragedy because I've had them there. But in 2010, I had lost my forever job. My job that was taking care of my family and our dream home. We had a beautiful home. 2-story, 4-bedroom, high voltage ceilings, built fairly new. It was about 15 years old. Only a mile to the beach. I lived in a beautiful coastal city. Now I'm broadcasting this from the same city, and it's called Surf City, USA. It's south of Los Angeles, and I'm 3 blocks from the beach. I'm in a lot smaller home. I'm in a home that is probably 1/8 the size of my former home, or less than 1/8, maybe 1/16. It's a apartment, which means you have neighbors that moan and groan on the walls. You hear people outside, people coming and going. Instead of it being in a single family home with maybe your family, now you're with everybody in the neighborhood, parking and everything. Kids screaming and yelling and crying. But CPS came into my life about 4 years after I lost my job. And I couldn't understand why they suddenly would come in because I was down and out. I mean, I couldn't get a job because I was too old. I think what the reason was there. And I guess I was being set up, and I did not know how the system works. Now, we have several people in the room here, and I'm glad you're here. And I appreciate a comment or a question so I can answer your concerns instead of me sitting here talking and talking and talking. I enjoy the talk, but I know it can be repetitious because a lot of you come in here day after day. So ask me a question or make a comment, and I'll certainly answer your question or comment. Hopefully, starting Tuesday, we'll be able to talk on this live stream like I used to. I've been waiting for a device that's very important for my computer. It takes a computer to operate this application fully. Your phone has limitations. You can't talk on the show and be on the show and also talk on the phone. That's why you need the computer. I can talk on my phone and use the computer, and then you can hear me talking on the phone and watch it on the computer. Now, if you're a guest on my show, which I hope a lot of you are, we can talk there on the computer and don't need the phone. The phone is for call-ins. The phone is for call-ins. Furthermore, if I went to look up something, I don't lose you on my application. If I go on the phone to the internet, suddenly I am locked out of the room. I suddenly have to get back in. But it's a terrible thing when CPS comes knocking at your door. To understand how they operate, there are two kinds of reporters that report child abuse or child neglect. First kind are called the professionals. These are people that are required because of their job by law to report neglect or abuse. Now, what is neglect and what is abuse? Well, neglect is that when you don't supervise a child, you let them run wild, unsupervised and maybe unprotected. Or they sneak out of the house or get out of the house, you don't see them. That's neglect. Furthermore, if you don't take them to school because it's required by law that everybody's in school. If a child or teenager is out walking in the neighborhood or down at the mall or someplace else, they're going to be approached by the police and be arrested. It's against the law to be out of school. You got to have a written note. And the note's got to be substantial, like you're going to the doctor's or there's some special circumstances. So these professional people can not only write you up with a ticket, can report you to CPS that you're being neglected. You, as parents, responsible for your children to the age of 18. To their 18, you're responsible. You're responsible for their upbringing, for their actions, for being in school. Now, neglect can be you don't provide them the adequate clothing. If it's 30 degrees below and all they're wearing is a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, that isn't properly clothed. It's too cold for them. If you don't feed your child adequate food, that's neglect. You don't give them showers, that's neglect. You don't provide electricity or natural gas for heating, electricity for cooking, or running the refrigerator. That's neglect. If you have no food in your cupboards, that's neglect. Now, you may say, I am really in hard times. Yes, there are a lot of issue of homelessness. Now, homelessness has been going on forever. It's just that in our period of time, especially in the 2000 year, there are a lot more people that are homeless than there were, let's say, in 1960. The 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, I was a teenager in the 60s. And I felt there were good times, but there are also bad times because we had a very terrible war that we weren't winning because the way that we're fighting it wasn't how we're supposed to. Anyway, politics I really noticed there. But CPS was in existence, and I know that children are being abused. Now, furthermore, these professionals that are supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse go to a special class. They're trained and they're educated. They know how to report, and they know how to recognize neglect. Now, another form is abuse. I mean, it's abuse. And there's roughly two types. There's physical abuse and mental abuse. Now, physical abuse is where unnecessary discipline that causes welts or marks to the child is placed on by use of a belt or a wooden spoon or a tree branch or any kind of a fist, leaving an imprint. You don't want to use physical abuse on your children. If they're made to stand on rocks as a form of punishment, and they're sharp rocks, I know a girl that expressed that. That is abuse. If you're slammed against the wall or choked to death, or shaken a small infant, her head is still developing, that is abuse. Now, mental abuse, and people don't think about it, is the constant argument that parents sometimes get themselves into. It can escalate to domestic violence and then become physical domestic violence where they hit one another. Now, you shouldn't do that in front of the children. That is abuse to the children. So, when a child is neglected or abused, there's a government agency that's supposed to step in. Now, they are alerted to abuse by people calling in. Now, those names are anonymous. They shouldn't be. They should be logged in and kept confidential. They should never be anonymous. They should be kept confidential. Because a lot of times people will call in and fake it. Will fake it. Now, another kind of professional besides the police are your firemen, your daycare worker, your caregiver worker, your school teacher, your principal, your counselor, your nurse at school. There's a doctor, and there is the nurse who works with the doctor. All these people work with children professionally. And if they recognize forms of bruises and marks, or the child looking very withdrawn or sad or whatever the case would be, they're supposed to call in to an agency that's trusted to protect their children from abuse and neglect. Unfortunately, a lot of the reports come in that are falsified today. Now, the other kind of reporter besides professional are your everyday layperson. Your could be your sibling, it could be a relative, your in-laws, it could be the neighbor, it could be the guy up the street, the guy at the store. They do try to report abuse and neglect. Now, all reporting of abuse should go through 911 because 911 is for emergencies, and so far I've heard that 911 keeps a very accurate record when you call in and report what you're reporting. If there's a shooting, if someone's in desperate help, that's what 911 is about. If you call directly to the police and to the CPS office, there's a 50-50 chance that it may go unreported and unnoticed. It all depends on that agency. That's the sad part. That's the sad part. Now, I know a lot of you have heard this before, and I'm trying to do something different in each show, but it all boils down to the same thing. It boils down to a case is reported, and they have within 24 hours to investigate whether it's true or not. Now, CPS believes the report 100%. So when they contact you, you already are guilty, by the way. With any other court of law, any kind of legal thing, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. But in CPS, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Because child abuse and child neglect is very serious. Over 1,000 cases a day go unreported. 1,000 cases a day throughout the United States, in all 50 states. There's 1,000 children, maybe a child from California or a child from somewhere else. 1,000 cases is a lot. There's only 50 states. There's only 3,144 counties. So a third of the counties in the United States are not reporting child abuse. There are children that are homeless. They're on the street. They're being trafficking. Our children are being trafficking so bad today. Drugs and sex industry are probably the two worst crimes. And I should say that because there's so many wrong things doing. Children don't belong with drugs. And children don't belong in the sexual trade. I don't know what gives people pleasure by taking an innocent child and have them wake up to something they don't understand. I've talked to so many people in here that have been trafficked into sex as a teenager. I hear it. I see it firsthand. People are being rounded up, put in containers, shipped overseas, and they don't have passports. Most people under the age of 18 don't have passports. They may not even have a driver's license. They may have a school ID. And I don't understand why we don't require children to get a passport. Because a passport is a legal document and authenticates them as a person. Now, your birth certificate tells you when you're born. It's acknowledgement that you're born at such and such a date, at such and such a time, at such and such a hospital or location, and the biological parents are listed. A lot of them don't have both parents listed, by the way. Now, having a child should be involves two people. To make babies involves two people. Problem is, a lot of young people are having babies before they're able to handle it. So we have a quadrum, a lot of things going on with child abuse. Children are being used for the sex trades, into drugs, doing illegal activities. So it is a complicated process. It's so complicated. And we can't overnight change it. I know that. There's a lady in Georgia, Nancy Schaefer, who tried to do a lot to protect children and change the child protection system. She wanted to abolish it. She wanted to go step forward. There's tons of videos about her and her husband in Georgia. Sadly, she was murdered. Her children will testify to that. But they put it as a suicide. Now, I cannot forget another group of individuals that are abused or neglected, and that's our elderly people, our adults. We have adult abuse going on, adult neglect. There's APS, which is Adult Protective System, which I call for elderly seniors that are maybe in nursing homes, assisted living, or whatever it is, that are being abused, not being fed. You know, it's interesting, this circle of life that we have. We start out as a small child, but in the end, we end up as a helpless child again. Some of us have big circles and some have small circles. Now, I got the circle of life from The Lion King. It's a Disney movie. It's called The Lion King. And there, the father is telling his son about life. We all start out helpless and we end up becoming helpless. Only because the way our body ages and when we first start out, we try to learn things. But a lot of you are finding yourself in a situation where you're caught up with a government agency that I call at least 50% or worse rogue, bad. They're corrupt. They're only in it for the money. The child protection system is all about money. It's supposed to be helping families, something called reunification, parenting classes, programs like domestic violence, drug rehab. You know, there are so many programs that are supposed to help out. When a family is dysfunctional or has problems, you're supposed to help them, but not all of them do. And that's the sad part. You don't know who's good and who's bad. Now, I hate to put a label, but I've heard enough cases, and I know firsthand because Orange County is where my case was, in Orange County, California. But next door, now they're called the Child Protection Service, CPS. Well, that's easy. There's a lot of CPS. But next door in LA County, they're called the Department of Children and Family Services. So that confuses people. The other day, a lady was talking, and she thought there was 3 different CPSs in Los Angeles County. What they are is courtrooms or offices that are satellite offices. They all have one department, though. And I hate to say Orange County and LA County are bad. I know firsthand. So is Ventura County and Santa Barbara County. So is Riverside County and San Bernardino. And San Diego. So from Santa Barbara to San Diego in Southern California, it's bad. And it goes up the state. There's only 50 counties in California. And half of them, 26 of them, are bad. And I just told you about the worst ones down here in Southern California. Now, this live stream affords me to talk to people from everywhere, not only from the United States, but from other countries. A couple of days ago, I spoke to a gentleman from Nova Scotia, Canada. And the week before that, I spoke to a lady from Scotland. Heather Stewart was her name. And her case was horrible. Her 2 children were taken, and then she found out she's pregnant, and now they're going to take her pregnant child when it's born. Now, I help everybody that has a CPS case. So if you have any questions or comments, please ask. I will help you. It may take 3 shows, like John Harte from Butler, Pennsylvania. He and his wife, Georgia, have been talking about their 14-year-old son that has special needs child that has a tendency to run away, and they're accused of child neglect, not keeping their child in safe. Now, maybe their parenting skills need some help there, but they seem nice, respectable people going through hard times. Meanwhile, their son has been taken from them. Their medical rights have been stripped at the detention hearing, which you're not supposed to take the rights. You're supposed to determine if there is neglect or abuse. That's the purpose of the detention hearing, the first court appearance. Now, as I told you, it has to be investigated in 24 hours, and their way of investigating is maybe they're lazy. They come out and they know that if they have a policeman present, it's intimidation factor. The policemen are supposed to protect social workers, but they don't protect the social workers. They have a tendency to the intimidation. So when they knock at the door and you open it, and that's one of the rules, you don't want to open your door, but let's say you do. When you see a policeman in full battle gear, as I call it, because they are dressed, because a lot of times they're involved, they have to do that. And they are really intimidating. I know it's hard. Now, I've been talking for a half an hour, and I'd love for one of you to give me a comment or a question. All I ask is your first name and your city and state, and if you're outside of the United States, your city and country. Furthermore, I'd like you to introduce you to a gentleman that has been fighting CPS for a long time. He has over 40 years of fighting CPS. He once was a foster system as a youth, but he's well studied to be a lawyer. His background is dependency law, family law, and juvenile law. Those are 3 areas that you should have any attorney involved in your case should have. But he's gone further. He's also a criminal attorney. He can do criminal matters, and he can do civil matters. He can do lawsuits against CPS for being corrupt. Now, I want to tell you that, as I told you early on, that the most important position, or the most important thing you do, is get an attorney. Now, he's available. His number is 888-888-6582. It scrolls across the bottom. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not Mr. Davis. I'm Bob Pace. But I'm a well-educated man, and I have experience firsthand of being in CPS, and I've talked to 2,600 people, and I can share a lot of their experiences and developed 5 rules. And one of the most important rules is that attorney. Because fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. If you need your heart worked on, what are you going to do is you're going to get a surgeon, a bona fide doctor that's trained and educated in how they'll do open heart surgery. Now, they go through college, through medical school. They do an internship. They get a license so they can practice being a doctor. And they also mentor another doctor before they actually open up the heart. So they have a lot of experience. Well, the same goes true for a lawyer. A good lawyer in CPS is going to go through school, get a law degree, pass the bar exam, get a license. It's a professional. And that's who you need to get. The problem is most of you, including myself, try out what's called a court-appointed attorney or a public defender. These individuals may be nice, but they lack the background in dependency law, which is the strong area of law for children and families. They lack the background in family law, which not only deals with divorce, but deals with other family matters such as CPS. And there's juvenile law, which deals with juvenile that are criminal charges and stuff. Anybody under the 18 falls in the juvenile. But there are things in there that relate to CPS. So that's why the background is so important. And of course, experience is your second importance besides being trained and educated and licensed. And by the way, attorneys, when they pass a license for that state, the bar exam, they can be terminated. Their license can be taken if they does something that violates being an attorney. Being an attorney is not a forever thing. So you can call the state bar at your state capital and report a bad attorney, whether they're public defenders or court appointed or pro bono, which means they do work with no money, or paid attorneys. Now, I want to help you. In order for me to help you, I need questions and comments. So I hope that you guys, I know you're listening, and maybe you people that are listening are all brand new and never been in here before. But it's so nice. The other day, I think it was last night, I was constantly answering questions. It was busy, it was moving, people were excited, things were. That's what makes a good show when you have interactive with the people that are in your room. Now, I'm glad you found me. And I say, I'm talking to you about something very important as an attorney. And I'm very lucky to have hired Mr. Davis. He works for me. He and I together are fighting CPS through these open forums, like this live broadcast, this live stream. Now, he does shows. Yesterday, he was doing a show at lunchtime with a lady that does a show like I do, Mrs. G. Vince and Mrs. G were talking about the same things I'm talking about. There's also another lady on Mondays, and her show's in New York. It's called Maniac Mondays. SKK Richardson, and she's on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time. There's also another lady, Deidre, that's on. And there's several ladies. They're sporadic. I think I'm the only one that does this show 3 times a day, every day a week. That's 21 live streams I do weekly. 21 live streams. In fact, I don't know anybody that sits there on a show for 3 times a day for an hour and talks. That's a lot of work. It's a lot to make it different and interesting that I can keep an audience. Sometimes the room will empty out because either they're tired of talking about CPS or heard it all or very discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Come here for support. Come here because I care. Come here. I will help you. I will help you. There's a gentleman named David Hilago, who's my most recent person that was in my room for a long time. I told him the importance of hiring an attorney, and I recommended Vincent Davis. He hired Mr. Davis. and he got back his girl. They won the case shortly. I'm so thrilled to death for David. He's a guy from Santa Maria, California, a nice guy. He's a single dad. Now, I don't know the story of the mother, but he's raising a boy and a girl. Unfortunately, people used the systems, reported false accusations about him, just like in my case. I was reported by my in-laws in 2014. My wife's mother and father, her 3 sisters, and her brother would call in once a week and make up allegations that weren't true. It was so bad that after a year, they came out again to investigate, and they used the police that time. And that was a horrible experience when police are involved. They got a detective that tracked down my patterns. I pick up my children at school and take them to school. I had been laid off in 2010 through no fault, so I actively was involved with my children from 2010 until they were stolen in 2015. I had one in a private high school, one in elementary school, and one in a middle school. 3 different schools, 3 different areas. I had to take them and transport them and pick them up day after day, month after month. So the Child Protection Agency contacted the local police, and they wanted to have a search with a group of individuals. They've been out to my home, and when my in-laws reported something that wasn't true, I proved them wrong. They said my children weren't going to school. I bring out the report cards. They're getting A's and B's. How they're not going to school? Or there's no electricity. I show them the meter. I show the meter running. I pull out the electrical bills paid month after month. I show them the gas bills, the water bills, the refuge bills. You know, the only thing is that at that age, and I was old then. I was old then. I was in my 60s. Now, I didn't feel old. Biologically, I was probably in my 40s. I feel like I'm 20 years younger, luckily, than a normal. Now, I've been working for 61 years. I started working at age 15. So if you take 15 and 61, you'll know my age. Yes, I'm a dinosaur, but I'm also a caring, loving father and a husband. I have 43 years of marriage experience. I've helped raise 6 children. All 6 of them are doing well in life. They're all contributing to society. So where did I go wrong as a father and a husband? If I have 6 children that aren't in trouble with the law, that have lives, that have families, I have grandchildren. The sad part involved in CPS, your family and friends lose friendship with you. And my family is slowly drifted apart. I'm still in touch with my 2 boys. They were living with me till recently and they moved out. One got married. He's 25 years old. He decided to get married young. But he's found God and he believes in God and God is helping him. So that's good. The other son, who's 20 years old, decided to move out with his friend of his. And my son, his wife, and my other son and his friend, the 4 of them are living together because that's all they can afford. Where we live, it takes people living together to afford apartments. A 1-bedroom apartment is $3,000 here where I live. Homes are $1 million or more. You can't find a home for under $1 million, no matter if it's a shack. Yes, I live in one of the most expensive counties in the world, I would say, too. Now, I've been talking a little bit about the importance of that attorney. Well, with David Halago's case, he got back his daughter. He's going to be in less than 30 days together with her. He's already had his first visit, and she was great to him. She had been brainwashed thinking her dad did something inappropriate. And it was those kinds of lay reporters, families that said stuff that weren't true. And that's when I was talking earlier about reporters, the two kinds, the lay person and the professional. They can be really destructive in your case. It's sad to say that CPS is so gullible, they believe anything. Because why? They're corrupt. It's $1 trillion business. $1 billion goes to every state. That's $50 billion. Now, $1 trillion is a lot of money. I've been sitting there trying to understand $1 trillion. $1 trillion to me, I mean, $1 billion is a lot to me. And from the state, $1 million goes to the counties. $1 million goes to the counties. And with $1 million goes to the counties, it's a lot of money. It's given to workers as bonuses. And the fat cat, the director. Now, my fat cat worked out of a Taj Mahal of a building, 10 stories. It was green like the Emerald City of Oz. And I met with the fat cat. I tried to tell him that they're wrong what they're doing. But it went in one ear, went out the other ear. Now, the rest of his workers, his bees, worked out of simple buildings, inexpensive buildings. So I saw where all the money was going. It was going to the fat cat. And I know that if he's listening or other people listening, or maybe it's a new director, I don't know. I've been in touch with them because my kids were returned thanks to Mr. Davis at the end of 2017. They were returned. It's great to watch Mr. Davis work and the other attorneys that we had there. My wife's attorney, Art, and later Mark. She had 2 attorneys. Well, she had 3 if you count the court-appointed attorney. She had 3. I had 2, my court-appointed attorney and then Mr. Davis. But Mr. Davis, or Vincent, Mark, and Art were very good at what they did. There are good attorneys out there, but you have to hire them. You have to pay them. They do a lot of pro bono work. When he appears on the shows, he's not getting paid for the shows. Yes, he may get future clients. That's what he hopes. And me doing the show and me telling you about a good attorney. But there's no guarantee. Now, I've talked a little bit differently. I haven't talked about my 5 rules, but I do need to mention them really quickly. Rule 1, I've already said, get an attorney, get a real attorney. Rule 2 is your documentation. It's so important to document everything, but you got to organize it and put it into a 3-ring binder and get tabs and organize it. Also, there are 2 other documents that are important. One is called a timeline incident notebook. You can use a spiral notebook or a piece of notebook paper and put it into a notebook or put it into your 3-ring 6-inch binder. But you need to keep track of all the incidents because you can't remember them all. You devote 3 lines. Your first line is a date and time you talked to them, whether you met them in person or on the phone. Either put the address of the phone next to the date and time on the first line. The next to that, you need to put the people involved. Who was it? The police, your children, you, whatever. You list the people involved. That all goes on the first line. The second line is easy. You just do a summary, a 1-sentence summary of what the incident was about. They took my child, or they came to my house, whatever it is. And the third line is the outcome. How it ended. And if you don't know it, you leave it blank and come back later and fill it in. That reminds you have an incident that's not been concluded. So that's your documents, lawyer, and then organize your documents. The other book I'm telling you about is to get a journal. There are a lot of books out there with lines. And a journal is where you write 15 minutes every day to your children. What's going on with you? Today we did this. Today we went to court. Today we did that. It's just 15 minutes of your time in the day, and you talk about CPS and what you did, your children. You tell them you love them, because unfortunately, some of you may not see them in the end. And something that book can be shared later in life, and they'll appreciate it. It also helps you psychologically by talking to your child because you miss your child. So here I said, lawyer, I said, organize your paperwork, have that notebook ready, have a timeline, incident log, and then have your journal. Now, the third one is sometimes overlooked. It's very important that you don't allow them in your home. You don't have to. Your home is your castle. Your door is your drawbridge. There's only 3 ways that people get in your home. One is you allow the door to be open, you allow them in. 2, there's circumstances where there's yelling and screaming and guns going off and something dangerous is happening. The police are going to break the door down. The social worker will come in with the police because a child may be being hurt. So they have the right to enter your home if the child is in danger or there are people in danger. And lastly is called a warrant. They got to have a warrant that's executed by a judge, that's signed by a judge, a wet signature with the proper date and the proper information on the warrant. And if you don't open the door, you don't have to worry. You won't see it. They won't come in your house unless you're making noise. If you're quiet, they will come in. They'll walk away. But they'll be back. That is your time to get an attorney. That's your time to get an attorney on board so you can meet with them and talk to them. And you don't want to talk to them at your home. And you certainly don't want them inspecting your home or taking your child. That's the third thing. Not only do you not let them in, but you don't talk to them. That's the second thing. And the third thing is you don't let them take your children. They have to have a warrant to take your child. The child's got to be in what's called imminent danger. That means the child, so many children are taken illegally. Again, if you don't have an attorney, you're not going to get your child back. And a court-appointed attorney is a waste of time. They're not trained in dependency law, juvenile law, or family law. They work for CPS. They don't work for you. You're not paying them. And they're loaded with so many cases because they're public attendant and most people can't afford attorneys. See, that's the MO of people out there. Low-income people are being harassed. Unnecessary. It's a shame because we have more low-income people today. I mean, our country is a third world country, I'm sad to say. People are appalled when I say that. I said, well, we're the strongest. I said, there's rich and there's poor. There's no middle class. Look at the salaries that people make. To live where I live, you have to make at least a salary of $100,000 a year. 2 incomes maybe will do it. You're poor if you're under 50,000. This is so expensive. Cars are like homes now. A good car is $25,000. That's a lot of money. I remember when cars were $1,000. I'm not that old. So anyway, these rules I'm telling you are supposed to help you. So get at that attorney. Keep the documents. Don't let them in. Don't talk to them. Don't give up your child. And watch out medical trafficking. Watch out medical trafficking. Now, I have 9 o'clock, and that means my show's over. So I got to end my show. And I'm glad that we've had people staying here the whole show time. but I didn't have any questions today, which is okay. Because a lot of you just want to lay back this morning and listen. So please come to my show later today. Please come to my show later today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or at 6 o'clock this evening. That's all Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast of California. Remember, on the East Coast, you're 3 hours ahead of me. In England, you're 8 hours. And in Europe, you're 9 hours. Africa, you're 9 hours. And in Texas, you're 2 hours. In Montana, you're 1 hour. Because we have different time zones. And in a state like Tennessee has 2 time zones. It gets confused. In Arizona, I don't think it has time zones. So I don't know. It's really confusing. But anyway, I am glad that you sit here and listen to me, but I want you to leave. Don't worry, don't panic. I'm here for you. All you have to do is come and see me one of my 22 hours in the week. I will help you. I care about you. Now, my rules, by the way, go on beyond that. There's the medical trafficking you got to worry about at urgent care or the emergency room. Having a baby, they will try to take your child. Then there's the internet. You got to use the internet, and you got to form your questions right, too. You got to have it, the right questions, the right answers. Remember, it's the city and the state, and if you're outside of the United States, it's city and your country, and then the letters CPS. And that pulls up so much in that city about CPS, all capital letters CPS. Then further filter it by putting a dependency lawyer, family lawyer, juvenile lawyer that you're looking for, or maybe looking for a 388, or what is the Indian Act of 1978, the Indian Child Welfare Act, ICWA. What is that? What's a 160 hearing? What's a 150 hearing? You know, how do we do this or that? You can find everything on the internet. I use ChatGPT and Google Chrome as my browsers. There's a lot of browsers. The format. And lastly, never give up on your children. Please don't give up on your children. That's my 5th rule, is never give up. Now, with that being said, I do have to end this live stream. I enjoy having you in my room, and I hope the next show, there'll be a lot of people that want to talk, because I'm tired of talking. I got a couple hours to rest up, but I'll be again at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So if you need that attorney, by the way, the number is 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent Davis. And when you speak to reception, make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. That Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. So God bless you. And I hope to see you again. And whatever you do, love your child and don't give up. Have a great morning. God bless you. And this is Bob Pace signing off.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the
last ones left. Put your faith in